isn't it funny?
Obviously, I'm going for monkey fish.
Do I have a choice?
No. I stole it.
Okay. Old pendulous breast herself.
Chase you through a cave. I know you do outside.
And we're going to talk about how wrong you are after this.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Monsters Lounge. I'm Jeni.
And I'm Tressa.
You sure are. What kind of wild, what do you have? What do you have?
Oh, well,
of
see,
wildness,
just
weirdness?
like an hour ago, I saw this TikTok of this guy describing this other TikTok, and her whole account got banned after she uploaded all these videos proving that she had been abducted by aliens, and they're just like shadow figures in them, and a lot of like an owl right outside her window just staring at her, in a bunch of videos. I didn't see any of these videos. This guy was just describing them.
The guy was describing the videos that you were now describing to us.
But
all right.
the Daily something did a story on her, so
the Daily something. What news source do you usually use? The Daily something.
I mean, they're all the same. It's fine.
Are they?
No,
I feel like they're
not at all.
Okay.
No.
All right. So the Daily something did a story on this woman.
Listen, I just watched this. I didn't take notes. And that was in the comments. It wasn't even in the video. So I don't know. What?
Nothing. No research, no problem.
Have we met? Yeah. What?
That's very fair. That's very fair. Listen, I'm still reveling in the fact that we do have some followers who send me shark videos or shark pictures, and it is a delight.
That is a delight.
I
love that for you.
Thank you. Every so often,
I like money.
If
you guys want to send me money, you can do that.
You know what's better than money? Shark videos.
No, I don't think that's true.
No, it's true. Have you ever really seen a shark video that you haven't seen before?
Yeah, like every time I see a shark video, it's one I haven't seen before.
It's way better than money. I'm telling you. Hey, we've got a really great guest tonight.
I know, I'm excited.
How'd you like that for a segue?
It was almost as good as mine, but
not quite.
Yeah.
Listen, I met this gentleman at the Missouri Paracon, the first Missouri Paracon.
Delightful.
I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but there's a second one coming next year.
Yes.
So that's wonderful.
And we will actually have a table there next year.
Oh, I forgot. We are doing that. We will probably not be at the table because
you won't.
I will. I wonder. It's not my fault. Anyway, so it met him there and started having wonderful discussions about his love for the state of Alabama. And let me just let you know that Joshua Dairen is here. I know. So
tell us about him, Jeni.
I shall. He is a visionary storyteller, a cultural historian, and a paranormal researcher whose work uncovers overlooked histories, communities, and unexplained phenomena. Rooted in the South and trained in journalism, he blends investigation depth with emotional resonance to craft compelling narratives that bridge history, identity, folklore, and the supernatural. With a global audience, like seriously a global audience, in the millions, and features on platforms like National Geographic, NPR, the History Channel, Joshua sparks cultural dialogue around race, legacy, belief, and memory. His storytelling redefines how we remember the past, making the invisible visible and the forgotten unforgettable. And seriously, phenomenal storyteller. Please help me welcome Joshua.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Joshua. Thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I spent hours on that, and it just feels so weird to hear that out loud. That's the first time I
And
heard it out loud.
butchered.
Now I want to go and read and like
Hey!
yeah, he does stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's weird. Like whenever you're asked for like a bio or something, you were probably asked for them quite a bit more than I, but yeah, it's very
Really?
strange when you write that. I know, it's weird. Nobody wants my bio. I
I
try to give it
ask
to
you
people
for
on
it
the
like
street.
every day, and you're like, get lost, lady. Okay. Fine.
Anyway, we had the coolest conversation at the convention because you were telling me about Alabama and how diverse and incredible it is, which of course then caused me to go then read about it. And it is wildly diverse. I mean, it ranges like the geology alone. Can you please explain to our audience, I'm sure a lot better than I, like the wildness that is there?
Yeah. Yeah, Alabama's an interesting place. Just on the surface, you think about kudzu and trees and cow pastures and, you know, hillbillies for lack of a better term, but and football. I can't leave out
Yeah. Oh,
football.
yeah.
You know, I've always been I was always a kid that was into like topography and natural features and things like that. So I was always naturally drawn to that already. But as I got older and started hearing more about a lot of like the flora and fauna diversity and even the landscape diversity in Alabama, just really just intrigued me. And so one of the things that I like to tell people when they ask about Alabama is that, you know, we pretty much have every um, ecosystem that you can think of minus a desert, and we're pretty close to that too. It was a place that used to have that was like 3/4 prairie, had its own bison, had a whole like population. Now there were some circumstances obviously that kind of wiped away some of the natural features of Alabama, but pretty much everything you can think of is there. We have mountains, we have bogs, swamps, forests, a meteor impact, which is really cool. That's pretty unique to the United States in general, just having known meteor impacts. And
Oh,
yeah,
I
there's
didn't
just so
know
much to talk
that.
about from that perspective, but also unique species of flowers and animals that also are only found in Alabama too. We have our glowworms, which are only found here and New Zealand. We have the biggest species, the biggest, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the whatever. We have the most meat-eating carnivorous plants, like,
Oh,
and you would never know because you think about, you know, farms and cows.
yeah.
Right.
There's just we have more turtles than everybody. We have like the second amount of fish, and so we're actually more biodiverse in the Amazon, and that's what most people don't know, which is crazy because again, Alabama, you never hear about this.
Yeah, I
But
would have
Right.
never guessed.
really cool place.
One
Yeah.
of the things that I noticed when I was reading about it is that you guys are like at the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains. So you have like Precambrian basement rock all the
Yeah,
way down to like, which is the oldest rock on the planet, down to the newest rock, which I don't remember it all right now. But it's the current era. So you have the oldest to the newest, which is insane.
yeah, and that kind of goes into the meteorite impact as well. With all the studies and research that they did with that, um, just the time that it happened goes back to when the continents were together, and we were a shallow ocean for the most part. It cut right through Alabama, and so it was part of the original kind of formation of uh, the world. And so again, it's not something that you ever think about, but we were directly where land met water, which is a really cool feature with Alabama. That again, not a lot of people share that. Not even some places in like Florida because they're mostly underwater already.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool. It's really cool to think about that, and also the whole thing that the Appalachians are the essentially like the oldest mountain range,
Mhm.
and we're taller than the Himalayas as well. So there's a lot of history and fossils, and a lot of really cool features just going up through the northeast corner of Alabama.
It's so interesting because I am fascinated with like the paranormal, like geological structures and like how those minerals tie into paranormal situations. And Alabama has like all three of like the major ones, which are like quartz, which you guys have a ton of quartz,
Yeah.
a ton of limestone. And there's a third one that starts with an A that, again, cannot remember because my brain doesn't like to hold information for a very long time. Anyway, so also it's incredibly diverse with the paranormal, right?
It is.
So
Yeah.
what all do we have going on?
Wow. Well, it's one of the few places that has multiple variations of the same thing. And that's the Alabama white thing. I know people always make jokes, and like there's some jokes that write themselves. Like let's be honest here. There's a lot of jokes that you don't even have to say, you just know. But it is very unique to Alabama in that regard. There's multiple descriptions of the same creature that's not the same creature, but it shares the same name. There's several different variations of the Bigfoot as well. You have your dog man, you have pretty much all the cryptids that you can think of that are like standard. So like, Bigfoot, dog man, the Black Panther, they like to roam throughout the South. So we have those two.
Doesn't Morgana the Kissing Bandit come from Alabama? Wait, no, not Morgana the Kissing Bandit. What's it called? Hug and Molly? What's the
Yes.
difference?
Yeah, over in Abbeville. It does. Um,
Well,
right,
okay. I before you guys get started on your fascinating conversation about the paranormal, I need to know about Hug and Molly. Why is she so lovely and want to love everybody? What's her deal?
well, I will say, I will be very transparent. It's been a long time since I've covered Hug and Molly, but I
Mm.
think from what I remember, well, okay, I have to start back from the beginning. So my take on Hug and Molly is that it was derived from some of the indigenous lore of a similar kind of entity that I won't say the name because it's the one entity that I looked up one time at nighttime and just Googling, and it scared me so bad. Like I literally turned my phone off. I said, I don't want yeah. But nonetheless, I think it's an offshoot of that. But a lot of people think that it's this old lady, really tall, kind of like decrepit, like scary looking old lady, what you would think of like an old hag.
Sure.
And when the kids were out at night, they would say that she would come out and she would like follow you and chase you and then like hug you to death.
To
And
death.
yeah, so it was really that's a really loose general version, but yeah, it's very scary. And so that myth was just told over and over. And so some people are like, yeah, I've seen her. And other people are like, no, that was made up to keep kids inside before the street lights, came on.
Because if you want to scare a kid, you tell her about an old lady that wants to hug you. To death. To death.
Tall too.
What? Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird one. That's a weird one. I got in and got out with that story because I was like, I don't really want to talk too much about this one. This one's not right. So let me just, yeah, it happened. Let's move on to this next one over here.
Fair. I'm gonna deep dive though, because I need to know more about the Kissing Bandit.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating. With the actual lore, if I could recall it. So sorry, y'all.
No, you're fine.
No.
I just wanted to make some Morgana jokes, so it's fine.
Now I can't stop thinking about like those bat creatures in Beastmaster. Does anybody remember this? I think it was in Beastmaster,
Wow,
or maybe
that's
it was
a-
Conan,
right there.
where it like wrapped
Like
people up, and
enveloped.
then and then like it did some things, and then bones dropped out the bottom.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
efficient.
You're
That sounds like
welcome.
something that come out of Alabama.
I too am a fantastic storyteller. Anywho, tell me about the white thing.
Yeah. So the white thing is interesting. So it's most commonly found. So we also have a cryptid triangle here as well. Very much like the Bermuda, and then the one up north. I always forget the name. The one that goes through Pennsylvania. The Bridgewater Triangle.
Oh yeah.
We do have one as well. It's not as well known, but it does exist. There's some research that's been done around it. It goes through Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties. This is where a lot of the origination of that white thing myth kind of popped up, and I guess more of the sightings come from that, and along the Coosa River. So I have a really scary story about that as well, about a white thing sighting.
We
That's
love
very
those.
compelling, based on just knowing Alabama and how people are out in the woods. But yeah, so the main version that people talk about is the white thing that's an albino Bigfoot. That's pretty much the general description. It shows up. It has really like almost like polar bear like fur. It's just really mangy, but it's white and it's solid white, and it has really vibrant red eyes. That's what people usually use as a descriptor for it. It's very specific for it. And it's not as friendly as like, the casual Bigfoot. And then you have two other variations that are, one's like a lion with like kangaroo legs. It's weird. And then there's another one that's kind of like a big dog almost. So there's like multiple variations, and they're all albino, so they're all white. And then there's the last one that people call the white thing. That's not really, but it kind of gets lumped in together. Is more like what I'd call like an alien of some sort. It's completely hairless. It has big eyes, and it's been seen around caves up in the northern part of Alabama. Around there's I want to say Redstone Arsenal is one that comes to mind, but around like the deep cavernous cave systems that we have up there, that one's also been pretty heavily reported. And the one that looks like a lion has some actual like family lore attached to it. So people have said that they've seen that specific entity or Bigfoot or creature, I guess, around funerals or when a funeral is about to happen. So it's almost like a harbinger. So when certain people in those areas would see the white thing, whether it's in their tree line or have an encounter, they knew that either a funeral was about to take place or a funeral was taking place. So it accompanied a death of some sort. And it's usually the only one that really shows up like that, but there are other reports of like the Bigfoot version also showing up around that as well. So some people kind of attribute it to being a harbinger of some sort, very similar to like a banshee that shows up at very specific times when certain events are happening. So it's more compelling than just the typical like, oh, it's an albino Bigfoot. Like, of course, Alabama has a white thing. It has some really fascinating lore attached to it, and some really interesting personal stories around it too. I got a lot of DMs when I first covered it the first time about that specific incident where they had a death, and then they would see it, and then that was the myth that would be carried down through the generations. If you see the white thing, just know that somebody in your family has died or is going to die soon. You're going to attend a funeral. So it's interesting.
That's reassuring.
Yeah. I'm still stuck on the kangaroo legs, but
yeah, right.
It's unhinged, and so sometimes I think some people got into a little bit of the white lightning out in the woods, and then started seeing some things.
I'm sure that's not related. Theory.
Oh boy.
What if they are a very specific cryptid, but this one just happens to be albino, and he's just hanging out, and you see him every once in a while. It's an albino Bigfoot. It's fine. What?
I do think that there's some like validity to that. There could be something like that in the Alabama woods. A lot of people don't know that most of our forests have been completely untouched by humans, and some of them you can't traverse them, even the ones that are close to population. So, I mean, you think about the silverback gorilla and how it was found, and even then, after they found it, how hard it was to actually keep track of them and find where they went. If there's an intelligent species out in the woods like that, and that has gone, has avoided human contact for that long, like they've definitely adapted. Animals definitely evolve in that way, and there's some validity. Like there's some places that even if you wanted to get out there, you could not, just because of Alabama's topography. A lot of cliffs, a lot of drop offs. So you even would have to be careful in that regard.
Yeah, and whenever, I mean, that's one of the great things about really any place that you have like a lot of Bigfoot sightings and whatnot, and the whole idea of like, oh, we would have found them. Well, you know, in small population, huge expanse of untamed wilderness. Would you have?
Yeah,
You know?
and that's my least favorite thing that I hear about like Bigfoot being found in Alabama. Like, we are people who we do carry a lot of guns, but with the like, there's a real fear that comes with some of these cryptids that I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
Especially for the people who have their stories and are kind of hesitant to tell them, and then they do eventually tell them. You can I feel like you can kind of tell the difference between somebody who's like just caught up in the thrill of maybe I saw something, and somebody who really had an experience, because they act a certain way. And and usually these people are, especially in Alabama, are people who carry guns. So, and they don't use them. If anything, they do the exact opposite. And that's also telling to me as well. As many jokes have come out about us shooting UFOs and stuff out of the sky, I really don't think that would happen. And let alone with a Bigfoot that kind of pops up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I'm here." Like, everybody's running. Not a single soul standing there shooting.
Yeah. No one.
Speaking of not a single soul,
for those of you naysayers, I want you to know how much I appreciate how many of you grabbed a hold of my small package after last week's show. It is out and available. You can get both of my books, The Other Side, A Guide to the Paranormal and Ghost Hunting, and my brand new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. Both books are out. One, of course, kind of a how-to ghost hunt book, and the other story book of strange supernatural occurrences all around the world. You can get your hand on my small package by just ordering it right off of my website. You can go right to paranormal60.com, scroll down on the front page there, or go to the shop and scroll down and you'll see our book bundle. And I was so humbled by the fact of how many men put their hands on my small package at the end of last week's show and bought it. It was great. It made me feel loved and wanted. I'm not going to lie.
I was not implying that Dave does not have a soul. That's not what I was implying. I'm just bad at segues.
And coming back from segues.
No, I'm better at those.
Was that also a segue?
I actually think about them during the commercial, what I'm going to say when the commercial is done. So I'm really great at coming back from the commercial, as you can tell by what I'm saying right now.
Are you?
No.
All right.
Small package, so,
it's a great package from what I've heard.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Oh,
yeah. So that's the thing that I want, if you learn anything at all from this particular episode, it's just how wild some of these places are, that so many things could be hiding. And one of the things that I love, especially with cryptids, is how far back some of these stories go. It's all the way back to indigenous people. Was there similarities that you have found in very ancient lore, up until now with the white thing? I mean, we won't ask you about the Morgana.
Thank you.
I will say there's not as much detailing. I think that this does have to do a little bit with kind of the way that the indigenous population was kind of moved out of Alabama. Mm-hmm. But you do get a lot of the early just Bigfoot stories in general, starting with a lot of indigenous culture. It's very similar to the Florida skunk ape. That goes back to that's a part of their actual heritage. They have stories of that going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and you can kind of see some of the similarities. I would say once you get to the lower part of Alabama, where you can definitely tell that they also lived with something that was similar. And Mobile and that kind of southern region of Alabama is very similar to what happens when you get to the Everglades with the skunk ape. So they have their own skunk ape. And I like to think that it's probably connected to some regard.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, yeah, especially like with the region and, without, them changing waterways and deforestation and things like that, that could be just a separated population of the same thing. But yeah, Alabama has its own skunk ape, and it's the same. It's more aggressive than the rest of them. It operates very similarly to the Florida skunk ape, and it's found deep into the culture as well. That goes back to indigenous times, and really all of them do. If we're being honest, that goes even into the river monsters that we have.
Mhm.
You can find stories that the indigenous people from, and I'm going to highlight the Coosa because at one point it flowed freely all the way through into Tennessee and just kept going and connected directly to the ocean. And so, like everything that connects to the ocean, there's always some weird creature in the water.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love
Every
the
time.
ocean. It's my
And I love
favorite.
river monsters too. Even though I will never, I don't get into river water or lake water, but I love river monsters because they're just so fascinating. Because you can usually kind of push it off and say, "Hey, like it's just like an alligator gar or a sturgeon or something." But some of these are indescribable, and they fall into that indigenous lore and the way that they even describe these creatures. They may have some similarities, but their behavior is different, or when they see them, it's different. And so, long story short, to answer your question, yes, I do see a lot of similarities with it going back before, I guess, like colonized United States, or
Yeah.
colonized United States
Mhm.
before like settlers started coming and moving into these places.
So, give us some of the river monsters or river monster.
Yeah. The most well known is in the Coosa. It's just the Coosa River serpent. This one is one of those that goes back to the indigenous lore. So the indigenous used to live. There's you have like the Muskogee, and you have the Creek, and you have the Choctaw and the Cherokee, um, uh, dynamically in Alabama. So you had the Coosa was also kind of like a meeting point. It was a lot of different things, and specifically like near Sylacauga, Childersburg, and on up through to like Gadsden and into Georgia, and but they had stories about this large, long creature that they would see in the water, kind of grayish, had the head of a horse, which most people say, oh, it's a sturgeon, but it was just long. And I mean, you could, I mean, if you've seen a sturgeon like in any aquarium, like
Dude,
it
yeah.
checks out. Like those things
Yeah.
are massive. And they're old too.
Mhm.
But people, as they started coming to this part of the Coosa, started finding or started having more encounters with this creature, specifically in one area, which is the ball play area, which is very close to getting towards like Rome, Georgia, when you cross the state line. And there's one story about a half-eaten deer that was found washed up that the river monster had spit up on the shore. And then just a lot of just other encounters where like there was just massive movement of something big in the water. And you do have bull sharks and things like that. So this is before the dammed river time. So you have stories like those. So the Coosa River monster is probably our most famous. It's not really famous because most people don't even know about it, but it's famous for us.
Okay.
And people have, when I covered this story, I've had DMs about people who were in the water swimming around, and they felt something brush against their leg, and they would like, do the topsy-turvy thing when something big is moving by like a boat, and they would see like the trail of something that was massive, that was gray, that they couldn't really explain. And so they didn't really, get in the water anymore. So I did get like a ton of DMs about stuff like that when I covered it. So outside of the people being like, there's nothing in the water, it's probably a catfish. So there's that one. And it seems to be, and the white thing is also very familiar with the Coosa. That's its favorite spot. So
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So there's something in particular about this in this river. You know, I'm not sure catfish are gray. Are they?
Grayish, but they usually
I always
don't
see them as
hang
like
out.
brown or yeah.
Yeah, they usually don't hang out on the surface unless, and if they do,
Oh,
they're up real fast and they're gone.
yeah.
Usually they're hanging down at the lowest parts because they're with them being bottom feeders and
Yeah.
being so deep, there's really no justification for them to be up there like that. Not enough to like bump into somebody and
Right.
leave a trail in a wake. And so the wake is usually kind of what gives me an kind of pause. And people will be like, "Oh, it's like river grass," but river grass also just river grass.
Yeah, that doesn't feel the same at all. And if
Yeah.
it were a bull shark and it bumped into you, it would have bitten you because
Yeah,
bull
you would have
sharks
been in the
are
bull shark.
jerks. They are the jerks of the
There would
shark
have been
world.
no swimming past the bull shark. The bull shark
Mm-mm.
would have gotten you.
Yeah. They bite indiscriminately. Anyway, that is a fascinating one. I like that one so much.
Yeah, and the more you like dive into the river serpent, the more it feels more plausible. Because there's similar stories about Alti in the Altamahaha River in Darien, Georgia, that goes through Darien.
Okay.
It's also connected to the ocean. They also have tons of stories. It also traces back to indigenous lore. They have stories about that. It's like it's in their culture as well. And you tend to, like, as you look more into some of these rivers, you just see more and more plausibility. And even in the Mississippi, like up in Illinois, there's Pecky. I think it's called Pecky. Something like that. Like
Yeah.
way up north. Don't quote me on that. Penny. I think it's Penny.
I don't know. I get
It is.
frustrated with Illinois because we get the Thunderbird, and then I'm like, come on, I want the Bigfoot.
Yeah, I wish we got the
Yeah.
Thunderbird. I don't hear very many Thunderbird stories.
I'm
over-
surprised you don't have the Thunderbird. Like,
yeah, I'm a little
frequently.
bit surprised about that as well. Although,
Like, we have a little bit, and I think sometimes people just kind of lump us in because, like, if it happens one place, it obviously has to happen here.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I haven't found as much stuff about Thunderbirds here.
Hmm.
And
No
we do
Mothman.
have like big birds of prey and everything. So we do
Mhm.
have eagles here. But yeah, the Thunderbird is not something you hear. So I don't know. I always
Which
thought
is
the
weird.
Thunderbird
Yeah.
was a door or
Maybe
something.
it's just that you guys have a more discerning eye and can tell that it's actually a bird of prey and not a Thunderbird. And
Maybe.
you guys, it's not.
They're like, oh, it's
Thunderbird.
just a huge bird. It's fine.
So then,
And it could be the tree cover too. I think that could
Yeah.
like maybe have some effect because I do know that like at random times you will see like a random bald eagle flying and it's usually right before a storm. And
Mhm.
so when you see like something big like that in the darkness, it does appear like huge, especially like a bald eagle. They're
they're
really big.
huge.
And that's
Yeah.
just a bald eagle. So like I'm thinking of like a condor or something like that.
Right.
I'd be like, that is an entity.
Right.
Seriously. Or it could be like the harpy eagle, which is like my favorite
Yeah.
out of all of those like raptors because it looks like a person and it is so
Just
wild to see. It does. And they're huge. They're amazing.
very scary. Those actually scare me.
The harpy eagle.
Yeah, they're too big.
They're too big and they look like people. Like I cannot stress it enough. Go Google it and look at the photo. And in person, it's
Hold on.
even worse. What? What's that?
I'm gonna go Google it. Hold on.
Oh yeah. Okay. She's gonna go Google it right now. You and I talked a lot about, well, relatively speaking, about cave systems and how they might tie into the paranormal. I like it, number one, obviously, because of the geological makeup of any of the caves that are going to be in that area, right? Because they're all going to be like limestone, and they're all going to be created through erosion and cave-ins and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah,
I'm not seeing person. I'm seeing like this is a fine gent that Jeni might be interested in, but I'm not seeing person.
I mean those eyeballs.
Hello. How are you tonight, ladies?
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that scared me.
Yeah. They are scary. All
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. Did I interrupt something? Go ahead. Sorry, Jenny.
No, we're just talking about caves because they're awesome.
Oh, are Mammoth Caves anywhere near you guys?
No, that's Kentucky, I believe.
Apologies. Sorry. It's the only one I know of over there. Sorry.
It's
I'm
close
bad
enough.
at geography. Don't
Yeah.
I
listen
think
to
it's
me.
like 5 hours away from our border, so it's not super far.
Not close though.
But
Yeah, and that does kind of run down like through what is it? Through Tennessee and Virginia.
Yep.
Like that whole system is super, super long.
very long.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
so
if some of Mammoth actually ran into Alabama's caves, because Alabama has a
No.
ton of caves in North Alabama,
Yeah.
like tons.
I
I could
wouldn't be surprised at all. Like I feel like all the cave system, not all, but like a bunch of cave systems are connected and we don't even really realize it yet.
yeah.
more than likely. So what have you found that kind of lends itself to the idea that caves are this source of paranormal activity,
Um,
strangeness?
I kind of have a personal theory, and it does go into a lot of what you're talking about with like you have running water, you have a lot of limestone, especially in Alabama with it being under the ocean and parts of it, and
Mhm.
then the shells and all of those the sea sediments, forming limestone, and the granite as well. I think it just has the most like unique makeup when it
Yeah.
comes to maybe fostering or even channeling energy personally. Alabama's been is probably one of the oldest lived places in the United States too. So you have that plus the mountain systems which bring the granite. You have the limestone, you have the running water, you have a lot of like you have a couple of major fault lines that run through Alabama as well. So you
Mhm.
have some electromagnetic kind of tendencies happening right here already. So from a frequency standpoint, from an energy standpoint, if people are living here in mass, they're lending their energy to this place. It's getting, if you believe in like stone tape recording and things like that, that's being recorded. More people are coming, more new energies are coming over time. Like it just builds into this. I mean, I guess you could call it a portal, I guess, not in like a traditional sense, but you build like this energetic, I guess like side pocket maybe where things are about to happen. So then you have your cryptid sightings. And I have my own theory about Bigfoot as well when it comes to this specifically, which is why I think people see it as much as they do with the same kind of energetic resonance, so to speak. So I think I think it's the geological makeup that helps create some of that fourth dimension or like unseeable dimension kind of pocket in Alabama specifically. One of my theories about Bigfoot as it relates to that is I've always thought that Bigfoot might be some type of like ancient earth spirit, and
Okay.
which is why, especially in Alabama and other places, but more specifically Alabama, people will say they have sightings and they like look back and it's gone, and
Yeah.
you hear the rustling coming to you, but you don't hear the rustling leaving, or you have just one footprint and then the rest is gone. If you have one footprint and the rest is gone, then maybe you'd hear it in the trees because we have a lot of trees. So why aren't the trees shaking? I mean, you hear it with a squirrel. Why don't you hear it with the Bigfoot? And so going back to the caves, I think that could be playing a part in that. So it's almost like a ethereal projection of some sort of what could have been there, or maybe even, it could be we're haunting them in the past or something. I don't know. There's so many weird theories about that.
Well, we all know that all of time and space is happening simultaneously, so it could just be a veil thinning moment.
Yeah, no, I definitely that's something that actually I was talking to John Tenney last year, and he actually told a story about somebody who he was called to their house and they actually ended up finding out that they were the ghost that they saw. And that just blew my mind.
Dave
Yeah.
has a great story like that too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I love that.
those blow like, and I started hearing more of those. And so
Mhm.
that there's, yeah, that those always like just
Yeah.
blow my mind. And also, I have a personal story about that. After I talked to Tenny about that.
You know what? I want to hear that story right after this.
A vampire in Rhode Island?
A UFO crash in Connecticut?
A flying moose in Maine?
A haunted bridge that calls your name?
New England is weird.
Really weird.
Wicked Strange by Jeff Belanger and Frank Grace is your ticket to the bizarre. Ghosts, monsters, urban legends, and roadside oddities you won't believe until you see them.
So pre-order now on Amazon. It drops September 2nd.
Assuming the Black Dog of West Peak doesn't get you first.
Let's get strange.
Wicked Strange. Pre-order your copy now on Amazon.
How about that for a segue, baby?
That was yeah. Every so often, you really get one.
Pew, pew, pew. And then I come back and make an ass out of myself.
Yep, air horn.
All right, I'm so sorry. Tell us the story you have.
Yes, please.
It's not even really like that like fancy. I was with my coffee shop, I wake up pretty early sometimes, and so I was with I was at one point I was like waking up at like leaving at 5. Like I was waking up at 5 and I was leaving in the 5 time frame to get to the shop. And my wife told me that she was laying in bed one day and I guess one day, it's a day, night, whatever. She was laying in bed and she heard footsteps. And this is when our son was like just born. So this was maybe like 10 months ago, 11 months ago. And so he was a very light sleeper. And she said she heard what sounded like my footsteps walking from the door to the bed and then around the bed to her side. And she's like, so she doesn't care. So she was more annoyed than anything. She was probably ready to cuss me out more than anything. When it comes to supernatural, she's the opposite of the biggest baby. I don't even know what you would call that. She's like shielded. It's not even from like obliviousness. It's just like from not caring.
No patience for it.
Okay,
yeah.
I immediately love her. I like this. I just like this whole mental image that is happening in my brain.
Yeah, I have another really good story about that too. That blows my mind. I tell it all the time about how it doesn't mess with her because it knows better.
I like
she was
that.
like, why is Josh walking around the room like this? He's so loud. Like, and then I did it again, and she was like, okay, like if he's gonna wake up, the baby, then I'm gonna have to wake him up. And then it did it again, and so she got up and she like slung the covers off because she was getting ready to tell me something, and I wasn't there. I was already at work, and so she was like, I swear that was you because I have a certain walk. And she knows that walk. We've been together for a long time. So she knows like my footsteps. And she was like, that's so weird. But once I realized it wasn't you, I just went back to sleep. I was like,
Sure.
oh yeah. All right. Yeah, that's but she was like, I knew it was you, but like you weren't there. And so, but that was something that I constantly did. Like I would go over to check on her to see like how asleep she was when I would leave sometimes. Before he was here, and so it kind of mimicked that pattern a little bit. And we don't have like a mimic or anything around here. It only happened every now and then, where
It could have just been residual energy from like past over and over again.
And that's what I think it was too. Because it like she said, like it was your footsteps. Like I know how you walk in this room, like even like the creak in certain places. And so I thought that was really cool. So that kind of ties it back to the Bigfoot thing. I think there's a similar experience that happens with Bigfoot sometimes, if it is in fact like an earth spirit. It could just be like an unknown species. So I'm also very open to that too.
Yeah, I love the idea of relic species. Like that's the idea that I absolutely subscribe to. And somehow, some way, they've figured out cave systems in order to travel around. But
I like the idea of something we don't know what it is. Just more of that. I like that.
And I do too. I think there's some type of like mystery that comes with cryptids in particular when you can't really figure them out, and they are so animalistic. But like I think we as a society kind of dumb down animals to
Sure.
not be able to compete with us mentally, or like how they move. But I kind of beg to differ because there's so many different creatures that we never see unless the circumstances absolutely right. Like a mouse, like you don't see a mouse until the circumstance is right, but the mouse has been living there. Or like a possum,
Right.
you don't see the possum until you're, driving home from the bar at 1 o'clock in the morning and you have to swerve because it's screaming at you in the road. Like, but other than that, you never see it again. And so I think I feel like the like bigger species like that could absolutely be intelligent enough to move around in cave systems and just be discreet and just be like, at these humans, I'm gonna go hang out over here, and if I see one, I'm gonna run away real fast.
Well, yeah, especially if their survival depends on stealthiness. We're talking about like not hearing, like like a Bigfoot approach, possibly as some sort of warning, like, hey, get out of here, but like not hearing them retreat. I mean, just about every single animal in the wild, we would not be able to hear what they were up to.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
even out here, like if you've ever seen like coyotes try to like track or like hunt something, those dudes emerge out of nowhere. Like it's insane.
yeah,
Much
and their
less
senses
something
are so
live.
much better too. They're like and I would imagine a species like that could smell you like a mile or more away. And
Yeah.
that's a great point. Like even for cats, like big cats or wild cats, you don't know they're there
No clue.
until it's too late. And even when they move, like I have cats, and there have been times where like I knew my cats were in the house, especially my older one, and I would look over and she's like at my ankle, and I never knew the whole time. And
Yeah.
if small cats can do that, or even big cats in the wild can do that, like there's so many other possibilities.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. I have seen a jaguar like walking like very close to me, very close. You hear nothing, not a footfall.
Mm.
It's wild. Anywho.
I hate that.
Absolutely hate that. No, thank you.
It is the
What?
coolest thing.
Not cool. That's death.
It is so cool. Anywho, are we skipping any of your favorite events that have been happening in Alabama?
Or creatures or
or
things.
creatures or anything?
No.
That sounds like a lie, sir.
I can barely keep up with my own schedule, to be honest. I'm pretty much at work, at home, or at the grocery store. If I'm not out doing stuff like this. Well, I guess so. I know I will have some more events like later this year. Actually, that is a lie. I just told a big fat lie on camera. I didn't see it. There's some that so I will say there was an event I was trying to go to, but I ended up getting caught in jury duty. So there's a big event, and it's going to be for a week.
A
Right?
week.
Yeah. I am not looking forward to that. It must be a very high profile.
I thought you meant the event. Okay.
Oh no.
No.
So that's too long for a con. No.
I would pass out by day 4.
Everyone would.
No one would be
Everyone
there
would.
by day 5. We'd all be dead.
I would just put like my laptop there and just zoom in for like a couple hours, and I would just zoom back
Yeah.
out. I'm gonna do Windy City Parafest in June. That's gonna be really fun.
Where's that? Wait. Wait. What?
It's in
Chicago.
Windy City. Yeah. Have you not?
Yeah. It's a
No, I
newer
don't.
You knew about
newer
this one.
common.
Is that the one Varla was telling us about?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. We are in the area. That's why I was confused. Okay.
Literally
continue.
right there.
Yeah.
Well, let me make a phone call, and I will get y'all connected. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, but yeah, I will be in y'all's area.
Nice.
In June 14th. Yeah, in June. Around late teens of June, I will be in Chicago for Windy City Parafest. I really will. The guy organizing it is named Frankie. He's a pretty solid guy. I mean, he'd love to have y'all.
Oh, yes.
I would absolutely tell him. Remind me if I forget in the next couple of hours, because I probably will.
We will.
But I'll make sure that happens. I
Listen,
think
we
it'll be
have very little going on. We will remind you of everything.
Absolutely nothing going on. So
and also, I think y'all are fun. So I think it never hurts to have more fun people around.
I agree.
I just like to mimic her.
Well, yeah, we're doing Windy City Parafest. I'm just including us now.
That's
For
right.
sure. Yeah, we're into it.
I am doing a dinner with Jawan at Belvoir in August. A noir dinner. His thing. I'm just tagging along, pretending that I'm a special guest. More so, just moonlighting as a elevated guest, I guess.
Nice.
Just make a sign and carry it around. That immediately makes you a special guest.
But no, I'm. It's me, him, and Sarah.
Yeah. I just saw that today. That's exciting.
I'm not gonna say her last name because I butcher it, and I do
It's
not.
Limos.
Limos. Ooh, thank you.
Nicely done.
Yes, but she's awesome. She rocked my world in Missouri, and I still have not recovered.
Yeah, she's so fun. I love
She is
her.
Yeah.
the real deal.
Yeah.
If anybody's ever wondering, she is legit in every way. It's kind of scary. I've never met somebody. There's a lot of people who do that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who do that. And I will say
Yes.
that's my public endorsement of Sarah.
Yes, 100%. And not only is she like the real deal, but she's just like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, she's
It's not.
nice.
It's not a huge deal. It's just like this is just
The
a thing.
absolute kindest soul.
Oh, I love her because she's a
amazing.
giant goof. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just beams, just goodness. No matter where she's at, it just beams off of her.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited we're gonna do some investigating with her, which I'm also excited about. And so me, him, and Juwan are gonna be leading some investigations. We have a secret thing that we're working on.
Ooh.
It'll probably be around the same time frame. We're setting it'll be really cool. That's what I can say. I can't say it now.
Nice.
But it'll be really cool. It's gonna be another event. I'm selling coffee on the interwebs. Yeah, that's all I got now. I'll probably have more events to announce later this year, but a lot of things are just like in talks. Yeah, I think that's pretty it. It's pretty boring right now. My work is pretty boring. I've just been focusing on my coffee shop pretty much. So,
which is very exciting. And it's, we're just sliding into the whole convention season. So we're a little bored right now. That's fine. But before you go, do you have any like UFO alien stuff in Alabama?
Oh, in Alabama. Yeah, we got.
Yeah. So believe it or not, Alabama's like top 15 in the country. Well, I guess so. It's top 15 out of 50 states in the country.
I learned that fact.
And for UFO stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we do have a lot of military installations, and a lot of them happen in that area. So a lot happen around the Gulf. So a lot of people are familiar with like Pensacola, but a lot happen in just that area. And Pensacola and Gulf Shores and like just Orange Beach, Alabama they're basically like twins. Like they're right connected to each other. You could drive into Alabama and not even know that you even like moved over to Alabama. So we have a lot of stuff there. We have some pretty major events. We have the Falkville Metal Man, which was it was a sheriff who was this is a really condensed version. Sheriff who was driving in the woods over like in like the Kimberly, like Falkville. So it's like Kimberly Coleman area. And he saw what he can only describe as a metal man that ran away from him faster than his car. And he told people, and they basically ridiculed him to silence, to not talking about it anymore. But
when was this? Like approximately what year?
Had to be in the 60s. I believe it was the 60s.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it was in a really interesting time with UFOs and aliens. And then you have the Fife UFO, which everybody in that community, like 2,500 people saw. It was, basically, long story short, UFO came from the sky and they were outside and they said, oh my God, that is a UFO. And it was one of the few like fully confirmed, like multiple people from different parts of the town saw it. And we're like, what the F is in our sky right now? And so there's actually a festival around it because of that experience. What else? Alabama got tricked when War of the Worlds played over the radio, and everybody was freaking out and calling Jesus and and turning their life around because they thought that there was a real alien invasion happening. People were literally going to the hospital for hysteria and like sicknesses that they got.
Oh
because
my
they were
God.
scared. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
wild.
I,
Very
I like how it's just like Alabama got tricked. The whole state.
Very Alabama.
What
And it
else?
was wild. Like it was literally the entire state. Like people were calling the hospitals. People were like going to the police station, like trying to file reports. And like they were like, "Oh, a mysterious fog is like set over," and it was just a humid day, so we get fog over the water. People were like, freaking the F out, and yeah, it was like a
To be fair, it wasn't just Alabama. A big portion of the country were rubes and fell for it. It's fine. You guys aren't dumb or anything.
I mean, I might have
Fine.
too. Like, there's no.
Oh, I totally would have. And I would have told
You
Jeni
would've
all about
had-
it at the beginning of the next show.
Oh,
I
no,
saw
you
this
would've had-
TikTok, Jeni, about this guy, heard this radio show.
She would have had bags packed, like outside.
No, to go
ready
see
to
it.
go.
Yeah, it's a wild time in Alabama all the time. Yeah, and then we have the lights that people see all the time in the sky, and then we had the drone incident where everybody was seeing drones fly over the skies when they were like,
recently.
"Oh, yeah," and so that was a big thing around here. People were like, I'll see them," and it was like, no, that's a drone, bud. I hate to dash your hopes and dreams. Not to like, and I'm not cynical, but I was like, it's a drone. Like, come on. Like,
so Alabama got tricked twice.
We like to be tricked.
Who doesn't? That's a fun time.
I think that's all I can think of. We don't really have a lot of like alien stories. Not a lot of abductions or anything. We do have a fairly decent amount of sightings, so they're pretty far and in between. But nothing like.
Well, it's 15th of the whole country, so enough.
Yeah. There's one I covered like when it snowed around here, but I can't remember it now. So
glad you brought it up.
I think that one was my favorite.
Yeah.
In full transparency, don't remember the story at all.
Cool.
Oh man!
But it happened. I swear.
Something I say regularly on this show. I don't remember. I don't know what I was.
Hey, listen, we're humans. It's fine. I never do that though, ever. Listen, we're at the end of the show, and we were going to talk about diversity in the field because there's like zero. And instead of like wrapping up, I want to give you the stage, the microphone, the camera, to say what you need to say because it sucks that it's all old white people, basically.
Including us, by the way.
Yes, speaking as an old white person, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
I will say, but even from then, even women just are disproportionately represented in the community as well. So y'all do have a place in the diversity conversation.
Sure, but we're a lot more prevalent than any people of color in this field. Like even just white women, like it's very white.
But it is also very male. It is very male as well. So yes, there is sure a point on that one. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't discrediting.
Can we maybe let him speak?
Oh, okay. Listen. Rude. I'm sorry. Please continue. I was saying don't. It's fine.
You're fine. That is my daughter in the background. Can you hold on? Can you go back upstairs to your mom, please? Real fast. Okay, well, I guess I will make this very fast. Okay, where do I start? Wow, that kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting her to bang on my door like that. Well, I will say it is, very white and it is very male, but I do think that this space is changing some for sure. And yes, okay, very, very quiet, okay? Yeah. Okay. My daughter is probably gonna make some noise in the back. Okay, I'm gonna restart. It is, you are correct about like the lack of diversity, and that is something. That's something that actually prevented me from kind of being public about my love for ghosts and the paranormal and cryptids and all of those things, just because I never really saw representation.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I saw Juwan and Dalen and Marcus uh, find their way on TV where I said, wow, like there are people who look like me who do this and are interested in it and can actually do a really good job in this. And so I grew up in the paranormal. Like I was watching the documentaries, I was on Google, I was really researching stuff I had no business doing, but I was there nonetheless. And again, looking, I was like, there's not me. So it was one of those where you kind of tuck it away, but you really like it on the side, like in your privacy of your own home. You're like, nah, I'm Googling everything. But if you were to ask you, you'd be like, yeah, I don't even know anything about that. Football. But I think there is a very big need for more diversity in the space, just being honest. Because with diversity brings so many different types of perspectives and new voices and even new ways to frame stories. Like what have we traditionally been focused on that has taken away other stories from being told? Are we focusing on, Andrew Rayburn, who owned this big plantation and now he's haunting the halls of this plantation home, as opposed to maybe that person who and maybe that person who who is like a spirit there that's left over, who has a story to tell, who wants to tell it, but is so commonly overlooked because the person who came into that space wasn't looking for them.
Right.
And so now you have people with new eyes who are going out and trying to find the forgotten and trying to find the voices that aren't being heard. And so that's not just from like a black and white perspective, but just from all different colors and backgrounds and demographics. Like we need people who grew up in church. We need people who grew up without church. We need people who practice, who are Wiccan. We need people who practice these other mystical things. We need people who are agnostic or atheists. We need all of those voices to come together and who lived in different regions, who lived in different countries. We need all those voices to come together so that we can begin to not just tell one story based on how somebody said it is, but tell one story based on all of the voices that have been collected to bring the different people and elements that would have been missed. And so that's what diversity to me brings. It brings the ability to connect the dots in a way that's not just linear. We always say things like growth isn't linear, healing isn't linear. Well, the paranormal isn't linear. And so why do we treat it as linear when it comes to the people who are telling these stories and representing others? That doesn't have to be that way. And, sometimes, and I look at like it not being linear. It's like, if you have this and then it's not linear, then you can just expand the worldview even more because you're bringing in more people who can Venn diagram you out and out and out. And so now the common theme is paranormal, cryptids, new stories, old stories, but the circle outside of them is so wide that if a new person were to come, they'd have so much information to build new theories on, or new investigation techniques, or even work on their storytelling, or sidestep the famous story and then go and find like the hidden story and then merge those two together. And you might find an even better story with those two elements, combined.
Absolutely.
So that's my really concise version of just like, I would love to see more people in this space because I want to learn from them, and we should learn from that as well. I think that's the general gist. If we don't bring more people in who are new or different, then we'll never learn anything new or different, and that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
It's good in every aspect of life, and especially here, because there's so much unknown. I love it. I love your phrasing on it, and it's amazing to hear from you on that.
Yeah. So hopefully I can help encourage other people to take a chance and and join the field and just say, hey, like, I'm different. I don't see me. So I'm going to make room for myself. And then maybe somebody behind me is going to kick a door down. And then it's just a world full of just fun, interesting people
I love it.
who have different interests that can bring that into the field.
Yay.
That's great. Yeah, because, I'm not allowed to talk anymore, so. Joshua, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so
Thank you for having me and my daughter. I appreciate
it.
Yes, she was a delight. Everybody else, we're Monsters Lounge. Check out our socials and stuff. See you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.